We are good. We can go ahead and start.
Morning, Grandmaster Smith.
Hey guys, uh, Paul, tell me what your question was. I didn't quite get that.
I was just looking to do the marketing roundtable like we did a couple of sessions ago, where we went into breakout rooms and we all just shared what we were doing for each month and then shared back with the group. I just found that really helpful.
Yeah, we did that at the live event. Or are you talking about online here?
That was one we did online a couple of months ago. We did it for fourth quarter of this year. We just got broken up into several rooms, and then we came back to the main room and shared. And it was just a real helpful thing, especially with all the different, adjustments we've had to make, with losing tables and things of that nature.
Okay. Were you on the first quarter marketing one we just did?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It was a lot of good information. Not as many action items, kind of thing.
Yeah, Matt Smith, what he's talking about is we did that 3 hour or 4 hour, whatever it was, session on marketing, and I made an effort to replicate what we normally do at the marketing boot camp, which is let's break up into 4 groups, and here's the mission of 100. And it seems like that every time we do that, it's highly productive. And for some reason or another, it just doesn't stay front of mind, if you know what I mean. In fact, I think you had reminded me, Master Smith, of how productive that tends to be.
Exactly.
So, Paul, that's maybe that's a once a month, 2 hour. Let's do the. Really, if we did, let's this month work on the next 90 days, and next month let's work on the next 90 days. Always rolling forward and doing something like that. I think it would be, now you mentioned it, extremely productive. And Matt Smith, you would appreciate this. Like as usual, like we broke up into rooms, and then Jan started going, well, we did this and we did this and we did this. I said, well, is that what you guys came up with? No, I just thought about it because somebody said something. It's the usual one person says something that sparks something, and then somebody else says something that sparks something, and then it just evolves from there.
Do you want to set a time for that?
Yeah, it'll go into my rotating curriculum for the new year that I promised everybody. That's on point number 6 on the to-do list. What we might remind everybody is we did do that kind of bring a friend buddy day yesterday, and a lot of you sent some people in. We always appreciate it. As usual, people register for something like that, and usually the show rate's about 40%, and in January it's 10% or 20%. But it is recorded, and so it's recorded and posted both in the Facebook page that we have, and it's posted on the YouTube channel. So, and I'll post the link to, I think I may have already done that, but I'll post the link and email out the link to you guys. So if you want to just share it freely with any and everybody. And then for any of your friends that, no matter what their level of revenue or anything, anybody who's struggling during this situation, we did that martialartsstimulus.com page that has the checklist for partial opens, has a checklist for totally shut down. It has a lot of the marketing stuff. I mean, it's just a huge amount of very valuable material that we're just giving to everybody in the industry for free. I still think it's pretty likely that the industry, as far as number of locations, is down at least 35% this year. To put it in context, normally 20% turnover every year. So normally 1 out of 5 schools are going belly up. This year is probably 2 out of 5. But also an awful lot of very smart people who I would have assumed would have weathered this better are down 50%, 60%, 70%. I'm shocked at how, and it's all, by the way, it's all mental, emotional. It's not procedural, because these are sharp people who could have adapted, who just had a break from the ability to control their emotional state and didn't adapt very well.
And
I'm sure you guys have seen a lot of that.
just to clarify, you're not talking about any of our members.
Oh yeah. We have about 5 nobody who's on the meeting here right now, but we had about 5 who just imploded. We had a guy in Tennessee who canceled 75. He was doing one location 75%, the other location 50% of his revenue for transport after school care, and he just canceled all the billing. We had another guy in Seattle who just went and took a project writing a book for somebody and basically had a part-timer operating the school all year because he thought, and he was getting a ton of traffic from Facebook, and he just pulled all the budget and told Kate and gang to put it on hold until after the pandemic was over. There was another one, Jeff, of there's been, I mean, it's only like 5% who just mentally couldn't adapt especially after we beat them up a little bit. But we've had some clients that emotionally imploded. That's a fair thing to say. A lot better than the industry overall, but anyway, moving along, we got a lot of people who are still logging in here, so welcome, guys. But a couple of just procedural things. That was one of them. Is feel free to share those 2 links with everybody. Okay.
Sorry, what 2 links?
Okay, somebody needs to be muted, I think. But that was one announcement. The other announcement is whatever is going on in the background there. Was we won't be meeting live the 21st through the 1st. So the week of Christmas and New Year's we'll take off. Bob Dunn, Merrick, Jeff, Matt Smith, Master Moody will have variable. Mindy will have variable hours. I'll mostly be gone those 2 weeks. But any questions you have, post in the Facebook group. Any crisis that comes up, do that. We'll try to get back to you, but we won't have any live meetings those 2 weeks. And then we'll be on really strong at the 1st of January, and I'll have the quick start rotating agenda by day and month as Jan requested, and the level 1, level 2, and level 3 meeting agendas as well. So Master Smith, one thing we've been beating to death is December can be your highest grossing month of the year, not your lowest grossing month of the year. And of course, the other thing we've been beating to death is you have to start January first quarter with 100 new students. Anybody have any questions or thoughts on those 2 big topics before we move forward?
I have a couple. I have a 1-2 question, Grandmaster Oliver, if you don't mind.
I don't. Go right ahead.
So we recently changed our price to what you suggested, 500 and 247. And I have a 1-2 question. So the first question is, we obviously have about 200 members between the 2 schools that are, you had mentioned family deals, that when 2 full paying family members within your immediate family members are paying, I would assume the 247, the rest of the immediate family members can train for free. And so right now, a lot of our 200 members are paying on average about 160 as a student value. So my thought was, why don't I bump them up to say, hey, we're having a Christmas, New Year's special for the United States Karate Academy people, and say, hey, we bump you up to 247 times 2 of you guys, and the rest of the immediate family members can go essentially for free, which is your suggestion. Ours was, once you do 3, the rest of the family members were free. But since I was listening to your videos, you had suggested that when 2 people are paying for free, then the rest of the immediate family members were paying for free. So that's my first question. How would you go about doing that? And then the second question, which is in reference to this one, is we were going to give for the month of December to every family member basically a free month for the month of January 2nd to the end of January for the entire family, to give to their friends and basically say, hey, for the whole month of January, we're giving you to give to your best family member that they can train for free for the whole month.
Or
So
from-
it's like a 1-2.
Okay, so let's start at that last point first, right? Is one of the things we've done pretty successfully. I won't say it was a huge home run, but fairly successfully, is print really nice Christmas cards, right? With a really nice printed, like embossed, high quality paper, not this, not black and white. I'm going to go print it off on my, on my printer and then cut them down, but like, professionally printed, nice gift certificate, and in a, real Christmas card, professionally printed foil, on the envelope, one thing or another, and create a 1 month free certificate where you can give to each student, maybe 5 of them, to pass on to their friends. And then at the same time, you can do that as, for each of your family members, they can use one of these, or, here's a Groupon offer where they can buy a certificate with a uniform to gift them and put under the tree or so forth, right? So from the standpoint of the January thing, that's a little bit different take on it, but that's something that we've done fairly well. Is it's kind of like the Valentine card or the Halloween thing that goes in the bag. But this has always worked a little bit better, in part probably because we made an effort to make it look like it was worth $300, as opposed to have like a little coupon that doesn't look like it's very valuable. Does that make sense, Sal? On the second part of that particular question, on getting families to come in and train for free in January, I'll tell you, regardless of what you do, Mother's Day special, Father's Day special, Dad's train, Mom's train, the New Year's thing, regardless of all of that kind of stuff, the barrier to getting, let's say I have a 12-year-old, the barrier to getting mom and dad to train is breaking the barrier of getting them on the floor the first time, right? So where, and this is a whole, this could be 2 hours, but it's important. So I'll try to make it fairly quick. But the place that I've always found, and we can do 50% of every kid who enrolls, I can get at least mom or dad in class with them. And probably 25% of those end up with both parents. But the way we do it is we make sure that at the first lesson, at the confirmation call, during the introductory process, that the entire family is on the floor. Because if you let them, the kid enrolls, mom sits on her ass on the bench for 5 months, with her book or playing with her phone nowadays or whatever, right? And dad only shows up when you insist for a progress update. The barrier to getting them on the floor mentally is huge, right? Now, so that's one thing. From a family, getting family members involved, you've got to have all of the kids' classes be rebranded as family classes so that the parents can attend with the kids. They don't have to be on a different schedule. 2 is that creates a lot of the benefit for why mom and or dad or both would want to train with the kid. 3rd, from the standpoint of getting a high conversion percentage, is you make it part of the introductory process, right? So I'm doing the confirmation. I'm saying, Ms. Jones, plan on you and Joey's dad participating in the class today. And of course, the pushback will be, oh, this is just for him. Oh, I understand that. What we like to do is have mom and dad actually participate for the first couple classes. It'll give you a sense of what he's doing. It'll make him feel more comfortable. Of course, we're going to get him familiar with the other students, and we're going to get him familiar with all of the other people in class. But we want him to feel comfortable early on and make him feel more comfortable and let you understand more what this is all about. Is that making sense?
Yes, sir.
But then let's go back to the concept of getting a bunch of family members added on in January. Here's literally, and I'm not exaggerating in any way, shape, or form. The way I would do it in January is I'd put a table up front. I would stack up a bunch of size 3, 4, 5, and 6 uniforms out front. And now, of course, for the virtual world, we got to modify for the virtual world if they're not actually physically coming in. But that having been said, is normally what I would do is stack up a bunch of adult size uniforms. Every parent who walks through the door, I hand them a uniform with this script. It's very complicated. Make sure you got it. Go put this on. And of course, some of them say, why? Say, well, we're doing family month and I want to do some extra work with all the parents. So go put this on. You'll get about 75, 80% compliance, right? So in order to get them to go, jump in January, what really doesn't work as well is here's a certificate and why don't you bring your parents in? What works great is here's a uniform, go put the damn thing on, right? And then just get their own little group going on in class and get them going. Is this making sense so far, Sal?
Yes, the only thing to add to that is you're saying right now we have a Tiny Tigers class from 3 to 6 year olds. That's 30 minutes. We have a youth basic class from 7 to 12 year olds. That's 30 minutes. Then we have a 45-minute class for the advanced black belt leadership group. And what you're saying is we're going to convert those the 3 to 6 year olds to essentially a family class, where the mom and dad are training with the Tiny Tigers together. Is that what you're saying? And the youth is training with the adults in the same class. Is that what you're saying?
I would make, anytime you have a class at the kids class, it's renamed, it's a family class. Now, admittedly, the Tiny Tigers and the 6 to 12 year old group are a little different group, right? And so, do I want mom to train with the 4-year-old class? Sure. What I don't want to do is get rid of that, 3, 4, 5-year-old class. But my mission is with that class is to get them up to speed enough so I can mainstream them into the other class. Does that make sense?
Not quite.
Oh.
So they're in the same class as 3 to 6 year olds, and then eventually they'll go into their own adult class later on in the evening.
No. You anytime I enroll a kid, I enroll the parents with them, right?
Yeah.
So see, here's death. I had a friend who was talking to me, and he was bragging that he had the #1 cage fit program in the country. And I was like, well, one, what are you grossing from? And it wasn't much. And 2, why are you doing that? He goes, oh, I need something for the moms to do. It's like, well, the moms will do your regular program if you just enroll them with the kids at the outset. But the death of that is, I say to mom, bring your 4-year-old at 4:15, bring your 8-year-old at 7, and you come back at 8:30. Right?
Yep.
So what I need to do is have it be, you guys can all take class together. Now, admittedly, there's going to be some 3, 4-year-olds who aren't ready to mainstream into that class. So I like to have some place to put them where we can get them up to speed enough that we can mainstream. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Okay. But what I have is I have family classes and then I have adult classes. So think of it the other way. Let's say that, it could be any style, but let's say I'm running a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school and I have a lot of adult male 30-year-olds who come in the door. Well, if I put an adult male 30-year-old into a class that is adults and kids, they immediately have a negative reaction to that, right? However, if I have male 30-year-old with a 7-year-old son who comes in for his 7-year-old son, he has a positive reaction to, oh, this is great. This is something I get to do with my son. You see the difference in the dynamics?
Yes.
Right? So mostly what I'm focused on is bringing in kids, adding the parents to it. Although frankly, we've had some MMA, BJJ, Muay Thai schools where we flipped it the opposite way, where we had adults where we would create a class that they could take class with their kids. Now, what I don't do is I don't take a class full of male 20 to 30-year-olds who think they're tough and put a bunch of 9-year-olds in. That doesn't work. You see what I'm saying? But if I
Yeah.
have the adult classes for people who are coming in for themselves, and then I have family classes for kids that are coming in so that the parents can train, that creates the best of both worlds. So far, so good. So we hit 5 things really, really fast out of that question so far. And I haven't even answered the first question. And Matt Smith will have you help me with this one. But the first was a 1-month certificate as a real value-added gift, professionally printed certificate, foil embossed envelope, value of $297 for a free month in a uniform. It's a great excuse to do that with all of your students and give them 5 or 6 to pass along to their friends and to gift them to their friends is a marvelous opportunity. And also to do the same thing where the 12-year-olds give it to their mom or dad, right? So that's one. Number 2 is the way you really get parents beyond it being the intro process. The way you really get parents on the floor is you just have to break that barrier assumptively of them not being willing to get on the door. Master Smith, your preferred approach also is parents are always out there holding shields. Parents are always out there helping with class. And that really is effective too, because psychologically they're now on the floor, not sitting on the sidelines, right?
Exactly.
Matt Smith?
Exactly.
Yeah. But then we go back to, we didn't get to your first question, right? So the first question is, I have 200 students who are all paying $167 a month. And how do I get them on a new price point and off the old price point? Right? Okay. That's a whole different conversation. And the short answer to that is we launch the next new program and we renew them into the next new program. When we renew them into the next new program, it's presented as we're grandfathering them in because they're a longtime loyal student. The price is going to be this, but for them right now, it's going to be this. So therefore, they're saving $10,000, let's say, right?
Yeah, somewhere in between what
Yeah.
they were paying and what the new price is gonna be.
Well, yeah, but let's be clear. So if I'm on a 1-year enrollment or a 6-month enrollment for $167 a month, what I renew them to is renew them to leadership or renew them to black belt. I can go from $167 a month to $327 a month, let's say, and have a fallback position where I go from $167 a month to say $247. And let's say the $247 is black belt. The $347 is leadership. I'm presenting it as leadership is normally going to be $597. Since you're a longtime loyal student, we're grandfathering them in at essentially what the old price point would have been if we had had it. So it's only going to be $327. And that's good until, you might do until the end of January at this point. It's a little late to say the deadline is the week before Christmas. But see, that way, what you do is you get a feeding frenzy of these people who enrolled for your current program renewing into the new thing. Typically, we're finding worst case, you get 50% of them. Best case, you get 75 or 80% of them. Does that make sense? What's difficult to do is say you're enrolled for a year. You've been paying $167. I talked to this really smart business consultant. He told me I'm charging too little. So starting January, you're charging $290. You're paying $297. See, that's an approach that just pisses everybody off, right? So you've got to more or less honor. You've committed to it. You've got to honor what you've already been charging them and pre-framed your worth, right? Now, it doesn't have anything to do with the next new person in the door, but you've got to honor what you pre-frame them that you were worth and you committed to, but you've got to create the new program that's at a higher level, that's more valuable, and give them a huge discount if they renew compared to what you're going to be charging in the spring, not compared to what you charged last month.
And that's why it's so critical to make sure you engage the character development program with all of the character worksheets and all of that stuff.
Yeah, yeah. But does that make sense, Sal?
Yes,
And then-
sir. A lot of moving parts.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's why I'm saying that one question was like 5 different, 5-hour seminars we could have. But
Can I clarify one of the things that he asked, Master Oliver? What I would always do is have just do a gift certificate, and then we send out Christmas cards to all the students with you're going to put in there 2 or 3 of the gift certificates and say, here's a gift to pass on to your family or friends for Christmas, and it's the 1 month and a free uniform. And you could do it January, or you could do it just a 1 month gift certificate. So if they come in the middle of January, they get to train till the middle of February. In other words, it's a 30-day certificate with a free uniform. And that way they have something of real value that they can pass on, give as a gift. They can put it in as a gift card to a friend or a family member.
yeah. But
I was just trying to add a sense of urgency by having it start January 2nd and January 31st.
sure.
I said you could do that,
Yeah.
and or you just make it 30 days. Either one of them, whichever you're comfortable with. But
Well,
get it out
the,
in a Christmas card.
the deadline for its use or a fixed period will increase usage of anything.
Right.
So if I give somebody something that's, here's $100 off anytime you want to use it, it sits on their desk and they forget about that it's there. But
Right.
if it's, $100 off, expires on February 15th, all the data shows you'll have a rush of people to use it immediately. Then you'll have a rush of people to use it as the deadline approaches, right? So same with this. You could have it be, this expires April 1st, or this is only good for the month of January, or, some iteration in between, and that helps with redemption. You're absolutely right on that. To add what Master Smith was saying, the gift certificate, see, think about this. If I, I'm going to say it has a $300 value. You're getting the uniform, you're getting a month of lessons, you're getting all the benefits, I say. But if it's on a little piece of paper that it looks like, you're in Times Square and somebody's handing out, flyers for the club, that doesn't say to me, oh, this is something I feel special about gifting to my friend, right? But if you make it look like, we did a deal with Soundtrack. It became Ultimate Electronics. We did a deal with Ultimate Electronics, and they were going to give away this same idea, same certificate worth $297 for anybody who purchased more than $1,500. But we went way overboard to make sure that it was in a quality envelope, that it was on quality paper, that it was embossed, that it was 2-color with like the little certificate on it. So it really looked like this is worth $300 rather than, this is just like, the coupon they give me out when I buy a movie ticket to get 50% off if I bundle popcorn with M&Ms, right? So it has to have that different psychological view to it, right? Go back to one other thing you said. Here's a question for everybody. If you charge exam fees, I don't know, are you charging testing fees?
No, I include it.
Okay, good. But if somebody is charging testing fees, that's one way to add another benefit for the renewal. So, I know you've been paying, your normal testing fees and so forth, or association dues, testing fees. That's all included with the leadership renewal. That's all included with the black belt renewal. Another way to add value is, and by the way, you need all this different stuff on the way to black belt. That you get that as a package, which is also a good reason then have them pay $750 or $1,000 when they do the renewal. The third thing, Sal, is what you said, which is great. If it's normally been first family members 100%, second family members 10% off, third family members 25% off or whatever, it's a good way to say, and with leadership, you only pay for 2 people and everybody else in the family can train. Now, that benefit works best with they already have 2 people, and now you're showing them that they can add mom, dad, sister, brother, whatever. Or they already have 3 people, and you're telling them, but you're only going to pay for 2, unlike 3, what you're doing now. And then everybody else in the family, including Susie, who's already trained, there's no tuition. You see what I'm saying? So from a transition standpoint, that's useful.
Yes.
Okay, good. That there was a lot there, but it was a really good question, Sal. Anybody else have any questions before we move on? Go ahead. Is that Adam? Adam, go ahead. Jump in.
I got 2 ones real fast. One, the company you guys use for your Thanksgiving card, is that the one you're talking about, where it was like a big glossy 8.5 by 11 fold over printed thing?
Well, that was Amazing Mail.
Okay. For Christmas
so-
gifting, I'll mail people.
Say it again.
Like the certificate, have them printed out like that, because you're not going to rip that, you throw it away. You're going to, oh, look.
Yeah, you could do that. That was Amazing Mail. There's a ton of, we've posted in the past, but there's a ton of companies that print certificates and tickets, like, I mean, you can even make it look like a Super Bowl ticket or something like that. There's a ton of companies that print stuff like that. There's a ton of companies that print like really nice embossed, even Vistaprint does a lot of that kind of stuff. So, nowadays with digital printing and with, being able to order online and drop ship, there's any number. Colorworks, who we use with the print shop, they can do all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, but that Thanksgiving was Amazing Mail, which again, let's take an idea we haven't talked about in a while. Let's say I did a birthday party, and again, I know it's COVID and all that stuff, but let's say we did a birthday party and there's 30 kids in the school from Joey's birthday. That's a source that I can take a picture of all the kids in the birthday. I could create a postcard with the picture from the birthday, and the postcard every time can be the same, except I just changed the photo. And so I could create a postcard that becomes a certificate. We wanted to share with you this picture from Billy's birthday. And by the way, all of the kids received a free month and a free uniform. If you're not scheduled for that, give us a call right now and we'll schedule it. You could do a custom every time you did that kind of event, which, by the way, as far as pulling, that's going to jump way up, right? It's one thing to get something that looks like an advertising, it's something completely different to get this, this big full color picture of something with my kid in it. If you did an elementary school program, you could do the same thing. If you did a buddy day, you could do the same thing. If you did a pizza party, you could do the same thing. Frankly, you could do the same thing online. You're just taking a picture of the Zoom screen. Probably not quite as impressive, but you could do the same thing.
One more quick question. So the guy earlier asked about the marketing event like we do at the seminars. Well,
Yeah.
my state's kind of regulated again. I watched Grandmaster Smith's video. I wrote notes down. We do it again. But I was thinking maybe in that group, we all just list our next 10 marketing things. Because we can't do Christmas booths. We can't do movie theaters. So for me right now, I'm trying to get some grassroots stuff. But right now, I'm pretty much a virtual state again.
Well, sure. And a lot of people are, right? I mean, and keep in mind, we were talking back in April, May, saying, number one, we probably all have to do Zoom classes until July next year. I've been always saying it probably goes until next summer. The lockdowns, we've all known that fall was going to be a spike. I think what was a surprise was that summer didn't taper off more than it did, rather than it's a surprise that there was a spike in the fall. Truth be told, by watching what everybody, including the White House task force and so forth, was saying. But from a marketing standpoint, Adam, is almost everything that we normally do, we can shift it to virtual, and various people have had really good results, right? So we saw one member get 500 kids show up for a virtual class after they had registered, in fact, using an Eventbrite link to register to show up from an elementary school. We've seen virtual after-school programs happen with, again, you need a registration link because they're not physically turning in the registration forms. We know that Facebook is kicking ass, continues to kick ass. We know that Google search traffic has gone way up, which frankly, back in July, that surprised the hell out of me. I wouldn't have thought that the average mom is out searching for, for lessons on Google during the pandemic, but that the traffic went way up. We know that email is working really well. Direct mail hasn't changed. In fact, it's probably stronger. I don't have any data for that, but it's probably stronger. We know that to some extent, now there's clearly some limitations, but to some extent, rack cards is still, because people are still going in almost every place, still walking into the dry cleaners, and they're still walking in and carrying out at Dairy Queen in almost every place. They're still walking in and carrying out at, or Domino's is still delivering pizzas. In fact, their traffic has gone way up. So charitable flyers on the top of the Domino's box, on top of the Pizza Hut box, on top of the Blackjack Pizza or whatever is working better than ever. So there's all kinds of stuff. Drive-throughs, the charitable fundraiser for the Ronald McDonald House, where they put the flyer in the bag at the McDonald's drive-through, and every iteration of that going through, Chick-fil-A has their orphanage foundation. McDonald's is the Ronald McDonald House. I don't even remember or know, I guess, what Burger King is doing. It used to be, this is old knowledge, but it used to be they had a literacy foundation that corporate-wide they supported. So, that kind of charitable fundraiser flyer going into the bags would work even better than ever because their volume has gone up, right? So, again, if you start going through the list, Adam, like around here, they can't go into restaurants and sit. They can't, an awful lot of stuff is shut down. Movie theaters are all locked up. There's no live events, all of that kind of stuff here in Colorado. But still, people are out running errands, and I made the mistake of going into Target and going into Walmart yesterday, and there was 80 people in line. The usual thing. I made the mistake of not Amazoning it. I think it was a timeline or something. But people are still out and about. So bandit signs are still going to work. Banners on this, facility are still going to work. Blow up kicker guys are still going to work. You've just got to have all the signage tied into, the virtual as opposed to the physical classes. Master Smith, pick up from there. We could go on for 3 hours, but
especially what Adam said is we've got about 3 hours of videos on grassroots marketing that maybe 100% of it isn't going to work now, but at least 60 or 70% of it you could do right now that will work even during pandemic. But when you go through that grassroots marketing videos, the mistake that people make when they're watching it is they're looking for a few of the things that they're not doing, and then they go try to figure out how to do those, and they never get anything going. So here on this Quick Start program, if you see right there, week 2, grassroots marketing. But when you do it, make sure that you get your notepad out.
You Matt Smith, that screenshot looks like you're really bored with whatever I'm ranting on about.
I'm waiting because you interrupted me on that one.
Okay, I'll buy that. That probably is what happened.
And that's why I was sitting in the chair, and now you see me on the other side standing up.
Yeah, it's like, is he ever going to shut the hell up? So
and there's the list that I was writing down on, and so you can even copy off that list because during the meeting we were writing, and that's just page 1 of it. But when you make your list, what I want you to do is have a notepad, draw a line down the center, and on the left-hand side, put things that I can do now. And on the right-hand side, put down things that I want to learn how to do. Because the things that I want to learn how to do, I'm going to be doing while I'm going to be learning how to do while I'm doing the other things. See, the biggest mistake everybody makes is there's at least 12 to 20 things they could do, but they go focus on the 2 or 3 things that they want to learn how to do and never initiate the ones they already know how to do. So it's so obvious that I shouldn't even say it, but what people end up doing is they start trying to figure out what they're going to do instead of just initiating something. See, I took like Tim Harrison has at his school, one of those big date calendars that usually sit on your desk like a blotter kind of thing, real big one. And he put it on the wall.
Wall ones that I have.
Yeah, exactly. And you put it on the wall, and then it has all the days of the month. And then what you start doing is putting up what you're going to do on those dates. So I told him, your job is to fill that calendar up. So you're doing something every single day that your calendar's up there, and not even one. Sometimes you're doing 2 or 3 things. And you're putting on there that I'm putting out rack cards, I'm putting out bandit signs. I'm doing a direct mail piece goes out, mailed on this date, designed on this date. So you kind of put your whole plan of what you're going to do. If you're doing a buddy thing, if you're doing a birthday party or whatever, any virtual things that you're doing, put those on the calendar, but commit them to a date and a time, and then make sure that if it's an event, something like a buddy something, make sure that you market it enough ahead of time that they get a chance to invite their friends and things like that. So, sometimes it's just a matter of making a plan and then working your plan. What the problem that most of you do is that you don't have a plan and you kind of wing it. You fly by the seat of your pants. So what you need to do is commit your marketing to an actual date and time of what you're doing. That's phase 1. Phase 2, once I have my calendar filled up, now I've got to run stats on how this marketing is going. So as the new people are coming in, or I get leads or appointments or intros or enrollments, I want to track all of those stats, but I want to also track what am I getting those from. So that's the real key. And
Yeah.
I just lost my, there it is. So it's important that if I track them, then I know which ones are working better. By the middle of the month, I've already got my plan implemented and already put to a calendar for the following month, because I know it takes a couple weeks lead time to get everything initiated. So timing is important on this marketing. You can't say, oh, I'm going to do a buddy thing this week, and then I'm going to go tell everybody. It's not going to work. It's got to be planned out enough where you have enough lead time to either put a flyer together, to put an ad together, to contact how much it's going to cost, when can you get it mailed out, when will it arrive. But when you start tracking this stuff, we have samples on our member site. Bob, could you go back to the quick start for a second?
Yes, sir.
One of the most valuable things you guys can do is start running your school like a business. And what big business does is they have an annual marketing plan. Well, obviously you don't have an annual one now, but like Master Oliver did the first quarter marketing plan, or like Paul was talking about putting that plan together for the fourth quarter that we did in that last a big Zoom meeting. But here's that. Is this the one that we just did, Bob? This is the annual marketing plan. Now, these are things that maybe you're going to check off. Some of these you can do, some of them you don't know how to do. But the same thing the same thing as I was telling you when you watch the grassroots marketing. Don't get sidetracked on trying to figure out how to do some of these. Just check off the ones that you already know how to do. And if you see through the months, some of them are repetitive. And what you will do when you're doing your marketing plan, you've got to remember that if it didn't work this month, I have to have my numbers to analyze why it didn't work. Did I not get enough leads from it? Or did I not get enough appointments or intros or enrollments? In other words, I can analyze what was the problem. If I didn't get any leads from it, was it because I didn't implement it properly? If it was a direct mail, was it the ad? Or was it the area that I mailed to was not a good area? Did I not send it to a good list or a good demographic? See, so you've got to learn how to analyze your marketing plan, your marketing on a monthly basis based on the stats that you're getting. And then you can make the adjustments to make them work better. Or maybe you want to drop that marketing piece altogether. But at least you know what's working and what's not working. And then you can slowly put your marketing plan together as the months go by. You'll have what you did in January that worked. And the good thing about keeping the stats and keeping a list of what you did in March, in January, what you did in February, is that you're always going to redo that. So all you need is 1 year, and now you've got an annual marketing plan, and all you're going to do next year is add some new stuff to it. Maybe take off some things like we are doing now, like movie theaters and things like that we used to do, we can't do now, some of these live events. So it's just a matter of making adjustments off of your actual plan you have together. Bob, can you back out of this and show them where that annual marketing plan was?
But that was the annual.
You see all these little links on the right-hand side, Quick Start Toolbox. Those are all links with
the other one is that marketing checklist. Master Smith is really good.
Where is that one, Master Oliver?
You just clicked on it. It's right there.
Okay, there.
Yeah.
And so if you go down that toolbox on that right-hand side and you click on, and you get these kind of things, here's our checklist. And I tell you, if you just go through this simple thing like this, you're going to be surprised at how many things that you can come up with. And the idea is that you just got to do something, because what happens with most schools is they sit around trying to figure out what to do and never do it. So you've got to go through, pick out the things that you can do. This is such a big list here. And if you do that in conjunction with the grassroots marketing videos, you guys, Paul, especially, this would be valuable for you because you're looking for things, which is a good thing. I like it when people are saying, do you have any more ideas? Do I have things that I can do? Well, don't be concerned about that. It has to be something new if we have so many things that you haven't done.
Yeah.
So if you don't have this checklist to go through, if you don't have that annual marketing plan, and that's why Master Oliver did the first quarter marketing plan to give you some ideas. But sometimes you guys, when we're talking about what to do, you don't quite get it unless you go back to the list that Bob just posted up there for you, unless you have it actually written right out for you, unless you have it in a video that makes it where you can watch it over and over until you finally figure out which of them that you want to do. It's like when I'm talking about what to do, it doesn't happen.
Let's give you a chance to take a breath here for a second. Totally off topic. Who is it? World Kickboxing Fights published that video of you fighting Carl Beeman. Didn't you fight him twice?
Yeah.
I remember you being nicer to him the first time.
Yeah, that was in our school. That's why.
Oh, that's at Falls Church?
Yeah.
Okay, I was there for that. Yeah, it was. If you guys didn't see that fight, this was, if to put it in context, wasn't this like after the Macaruso fight?
It was, and that's why I was so pissed off. Because I had just lost my title, and that
Because it
was
was-
my first loss.
It was within a hairbreadth of you knocking him out in the first clash with a kick to the chin. I was like, holy crap, that's not the normal Jeff Smith opening salvo.
Yeah,
And-
I'm usually a little more moving around and feeling them out because it's a 12-round fight.
No, this was approaching a Mike Tyson with a kick to the jaw fight more than your normal.
Well, Carl had never been knocked down or knocked out, and he fought everybody, including Valera,
Dominique.
Macaruso, and everybody else.
Yeah.
Kerry Root.
Well, I was just throwing an aside in there for for all those guys who say, oh, we're just about the money and we're running McDojos. I invite them to jump into the ring with you today because you would beat the shit out of them, and I'm not going to be stupid enough to be the one that does that. But let's shift a little bit, Master Smith, and let me go overview and then micro. The overview is over and over and over and over and over. You and I and Master Moody and Bob have this conversation with members that basically boils down to, for God's sake, just do more stuff. We'll say, what have you been doing to market the school? And they'll go, well, I did this.
Or I'm gonna do this.
I'm going to do this. Next month, I'm going to do this. And, Dan Kennedy's quote is, for his businesses, every day he insists that he do one new thing every day to market his business. And it's a pretty good starting point. If every day of the month you added something in addition to what you're already doing to generate new traffic, and recognize that your mission every day, if you're not feeding in enough new students, doesn't matter what else you're doing, working on your black belt curriculum and training for your 5th degree and traveling to Brazil to train with the guys, planning on your China trip, whatever. None of that matters if you don't have enough new people coming in, right? So every day you've got to be thinking about what you would do new. Jeff will tell you, my staff and me personally is, we were every day, it's a blank legal pad. What else can we do? What else can we do? And some months we had 40 things going on to drive traffic. And that might be, 2 or 3 really big hits, but just everything we can think of, right? It's, the example I've used is the old cartoons, kind of dated now, the Tasmanian Devil, where it's just, this constant flurry of activity. But that's got to be you. And almost everyone who runs a martial arts school is lazy. Or they don't put that first, right? So you've got to put the marketing at the front of the list every day and be generating traffic. And, we've said it before, if you don't know anything else to do, take a right out your front door and start knocking on doors. That could be take a right on the front door and interact with every business and set something up with them. That could be placing rack cards and flyers on pizza boxes, or literally it could be hit the neighborhood and start knocking on doors nowadays with your mask on and staying 6 feet from them, but make appointments, right? I tell the story I told recently, but one of our schools, these morons is I just couldn't get them to do anything. And they would sit in the school and bemoan how little traffic they had. And they would rather have sat in the school and complained about what was going on than just get off their butt and do something. So Jeff, this is the Italian restaurant story, right? I was telling the story about Bill Clark and how, for years, the primary marketing activity he had were all these staff who was recruiting from South America, and they were all, hungry and excited to work. And he'd send them all out with guest VIP passes and clipboards and just walk to a shopping mall and tap people on the shoulder and make appointments, right? So this school is in a busy shopping center, and on the corner was this Italian restaurant that at noon was really busy. And Sean went down there, and for 90 minutes, he stood outside and actually talked to people and made I forget the number, Matt Smith, wasn't it like 45 appointments?
Yeah,
I think it was 45 appointments in 90 minutes, which of course had like 20 intros and 10 enrollments. It was so successful that he never did it again. I was saying, well, for God's sake, hire a 17-year-old high school girl that's outgoing and vivacious and pay her every day at lunchtime when they have enough traffic to just stand there and do exactly what you did. And by the way, you're not particularly good looking and you're not particularly articulate. She'll probably do a better job than you did. And just, have that happen every day. Never could get them to do it again. See, sometimes it's as simple as if you just had somebody out talking to people, rather than you're sitting in your office at your desk bemoaning the fact that you don't have any or enough traffic, right? What we know right now is Elite Digital is knocking it out of the park when it comes to Facebook advertising. You've got to invest some money. It's probably a couple $1,000 a month project or a little bit more, but they're knocking it out on the park and they've been doing it consistently all year. We know that on SEO and pay-per-click, Rev Marketing has been doing a good job. So there are two paid activities where you don't have to go bust your butt to do it. But we also know that just about everything else that we would normally do can be modified a little bit to do it. Buddy Days by Zoom have been working really well. You've got to have a registration page. We did a session in the spring on, on Eventbrite. Mindy is our expert on Eventbrite on how to set that up and drive some traffic. Master Smith, all that checklist that you have normally works just fine with the exception of live events. A conversation, this is right on target. I was having a long conversation, Master Smith, with Don Southerton, and he's got this big Korean-based company that presents every year at CES. That's the Consumer Electronics Show. Well, I think it's the single largest convention that happens in the United States. If you don't know, it's in Vegas and it takes over the convention center and they put tents up and one thing or another. So this year, and I believe last year, they're doing it virtually. Well, in their case, all of their opportunities that they would normally have at CES went through the roof because they have a lot more opportunities for press interactions, a lot more opportunities for wholesale, because it all shifted to virtual, and therefore they have a longer time span, they have a more receptive audience, and they have better ways to capture the information than somebody just walking by the booth. And I think it's instructive because now it's, instead of it being a problem, it's a huge opportunity. Does that make sense?
absolutely.
Yeah. But, and by the way, if you have staff, and I mean, you have volunteer SWAT team, you have leadership members who come in and help out, you have 12-year-old black belts, you have 50-year-old black belts. Guess what? How many of them should be stressed out every day about generating new students? Everybody. My guys will tell you, they walked in and there's like 2 students in the school and there's 5 assistants. They're being loaded up and they're going out and doing flyers. They're either going door to door or they're talking to people or they're doing flyers on the Target parking lot. Or, if they were a little bit more mature, I got a bunch of high school kids. I'm dividing out our prospect list and putting them on the phone and having a contest, and whoever gets the most appointments, assuming it's more than 5, I'm going to buy you dinner tonight, and let's have a contest and see who can make the most appointments in the next hour, right? You've got to be thinking that way constantly and never endingly. McDonald's says if you have time to lean clean, our version of that is if you have time to lean, let's get together and hit all the marketing activities. Isn't that right, Master Smith?
Absolutely. And if you just that simple thing of doing those gift certificates and make it a holiday gift certificate and the month free, and January is buddy month, and family month, any of those, but you have that guest pass for them to actually give out to somebody, either a guest pass or a gift certificate or a holiday New Year's special or whatever you want to give out or write on it, you know, just start handing them out to your students and make sure that they understand. I always put them in a Christmas card and did it that way. So that way it became part of their Christmas. I'd like to give cards out to them anyway.
Yeah. And the only stipulation to that is if I have 300 students, all of these different referral program ideas and different family add-on program ideas work great. If I've got a small student body that I'm trying to build up, it has to almost be 100% external stuff, right? So it really has to be, let's go, nobody can go anywhere in the community without seeing us. And let's be where they can't go anywhere online without seeing us. And let's go hook up with the churches and the elementary schools and the scout troops and everything. And the more your area is shut down, the more desperate all those different groups and organizations are for, virtual support tools and for somebody to reach out and help them with this stuff.
And, even something as simple as those rack cards, when you start at your school and we work out, with a calendar, with a map and go out a 3-mile radius and just start blanketing that whole area. So there's no business anybody can walk in that there's not a rack card. We start with the bandit signs right in our center and go out 3 miles. We'll go down the main drag, down the other drag, and have sign at every one of those intersections because they all have traffic. They all have cars and I like to put the signs at the traffic lights because people tend to stop or slow down there. But anywhere you put them along that traffic, that busy area, we have plenty of samples of what those rack cards look like, and they're very inexpensive, and they come with their own little wire to put in the ground so you don't have to staple them on a stick. And we used to do that where we'd have to staple them on a stick and actually get the sticks from Home Depot and then hammer them in the ground. And now with the wires, they just push in so easy. It's a real quick process. Something as simple as that. Even those, I know Alan and Ogle and Westminster and Amanda in Thornton, they have those big blow up karate figures in front of their school to draw attraction. Christmas special, or do any kind of, ad outside your school, where people are driving by, they're going to see you. If they've driven by your school the last 6 months or a year, they've gotten so used to driving by it, they don't even look at it anymore. You put a big kicker up there or one of those big things on top of your school or in front of your school that is up 12 feet or higher, those big inflatables, those things work great. People will notice you and, have the sign in your window, about Christmas special or 2 weeks free and a uniform, ask us about, put your number, put your link on there to go to your website.
Yeah. Anyway, I mean, we've hit a 30-minute rant on that, but our biggest frustration is you will almost always hear me talking about the Parthenon, have 20 or 30 or 40 things always going on. Because that way, if, I had a movie theater lined up and I had a, 4th of July lined up or whatever event, those things go away. You've still got plenty of things going on, right? And then some of the other stuff, you may have to adapt to the virtual environment for a while. My guess is, the world is like that until, starts getting normalized in April, and probably it's not back to normal until June or July. So we've got to really rise to the occasion and be good at remote learning, virtual via Zoom, in the park, social distanced in-house for classes. But we've also got to be really good at all the different iterations of the marketing that doesn't require a big live event, because we're not going to be out at, probably the big Easter events aren't going to be as likely to be happening this year, as an example of the spring. Any questions or thoughts? We'll take a breath and no? jump in. Okay, so write this down. Is before you go to bed every night, get a legal pad out and ask yourself subconsciously, what can I do to make sure I get at least 20 new students this month? Or alternatively, what can I do to get 100 new students for the first quarter? Every morning, go to Starbucks, here they're all only drive-through, but sit down at your kitchen table, whatever it is, turn off your computer, don't check email in the morning, don't check your phone, get off of social media, don't turn everything off, and spend 30 minutes of what can I do today and what can I do this week to dramatically improve my student flow. And so if you end every night with asking your subconscious, what should I be doing? And start every morning with an action plan. And you're pissed off if you don't do something new every day, then guess what? You'll be flooded with new students. You'll have to figure out how to become more selective. But if you don't do that, what happens is you sit at your desk and you're frustrated. Oh my God, we only had one intro tonight and they canceled. Oh my goodness. I had this one person coming in and for God's sake, Oliver talked me into asking for $297 a month and they couldn't pay for a pot to piss in. Most they could afford was $75 a month, for God's sake. You start having all these internal dialogue conversations that are horrible. Again, to quote Kennedy, he talks about you're really confident if you know there's another bus on the way of new prospects. And what happens with volume is you gain confidence, but also they get the takeaway effect because they go, oh, I want to be part of this, rather than they seem desperate. Everybody see the difference? Jan, you've done as well as anybody really creating this flood of students. What would you add to this? Is this on target?
Before Jan answers that,
Yeah.
she almost made her goal this month, but she did hit 102,000. Is that correct, Jan?
Yes, sir.
And so she's on track to with this month she'll break her last year's mark of just over $1 million for the year. So she's really, even through this pandemic, she's still gonna beat her mark from last year over $1 million.
Well, thank you, sir. Two things that I was going to add is one, don't underestimate the power of having those blow-ups. We had someone from October come in and sign up because they liked the kid liked our dragon blow-up. That was the whole reason they came, the parents told us. And the other thing that's working really well for us is the school thing. So we found that schools are more open. I mean, it's all virtual, of course, that we're doing this, but they're putting stuff on social media. They're putting it on Peach Jar. They're sending out flyers where they used to be really weird. They used to be like, well, it has to have permission. So we're finding a lot of flexibility with the schools with like a $49 special, and they can either do it virtually or come into our studio. Nothing at the school, but it's working really well. So you guys might want to try that. It's send it out right now. You still have time.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely right that, if the schools are in complete like lockdown, sometimes the only challenge is making sure you get to the right person, because just walking into the school and walking into their office, right, goes out the window. Jan, how have you been approaching them? Are they on hybrid?
All virtual. I've been emailing the principals and calling the principal secretaries, and we're just following up really well. All virtual and all telephone calls.
Yeah, and obviously it's working.
Before they didn't answer those emails.
Oh yeah, well that's exactly right. Before it would be crickets. You'd email all of them, and then none of them would respond. And by the way, they have to be more responsive now, because if they're on lockdown, they have to be responsive to parents as well now, so they're paying attention.
Though, I'm still gonna, before school gets out, go bring them all a bunch of brownies or send someone out to give them a big gift of whatever, just because that little stuff builds really goodwill. And then they remember us and they let us in the door.
Oh yeah. We were always, Jeff, your specialty is Mimi's muffins, right?
Yeah.
But mailing them cookies, hand delivering, Krispy Kreme when it was big. So it's amazing that it went from like superstar to also. But bringing them donuts once a month. The other thing I always did was get to know them all well enough, and then I'd wander through the bookstore nowadays, wander through Amazon, and look for things that I knew would be down their path. I mean, even if they're, I had a PE teacher who was into fly fishing, so I took him to Zen and the Fly Fisherman or some stupid title like that. And I had another principal whose son wanted to go to a military academy, so I took her the West Point Way of Leadership. But you get to know them well enough that you start doing these little, not just like lavishing them with money, but thoughtful gifts. It makes a huge impression. Good. Any other questions here? Okay.
I kind of do, sir. I guess part of me not doing it all the way is what you had mentioned earlier, is giving everybody a brand new uniform, which probably cost me about $20 a piece, with all the patches and stuff like that. And I guess either you just got to tell me, just bite the bullet on it. It's $20 versus, just telling them, hey, it's a free month. Just do it on your own in your street clothes.
Well, let me give you three thoughts. One, you don't necessarily have to buy the most expensive uniform. We used to buy those, the cheapest student uniforms from Century that practically disintegrated in a plastic bag. And then when they enrolled, we'd give them a higher quality one, right? And I freely admit, like we've got some BJJ schools where their wholesale cost on the uniform is $80 or something. So, you can be aware of that, but $20, I mean, I'd be giving those out like candy. And let me give you the logic. Is number one, let's say I'm doing the, and by the way, I think Travis, Team Took, I think we got him to do the cheap ass Century white uniform. And then when they enroll, they get the expensive BJJ uniform, for stuff like that. But let me give you three thoughts. Number one, if we're doing it right, and Bob, there's some background noise there.
I'm on it, sir. Yeah.
But number one, if you think about this, what's the lifetime value of the enrollment? Now, a lot of people don't know. You got to keep track of really good stats. But a shorthand version of that is take last year's gross and divide by how many new enrollments you did. Okay. Now, our target is for that to be in the $7,000-8,000 range. In other words, everyone who enrolls with you is going to, on average, spend $7,000. Now, some of them are going to pay the initial tuition, pay 2 months, disappear forever, and you'll never see them again. And others are going to enroll for a year, renew into leadership, pay in full for leadership, or pay for 3 years, whatever. But that average lifetime value. So let me be conservative and say it's 5,000, right? Well, if the average value I'm going to receive from a new enrollment is $5,000, right? And then I back it down to the intro. If putting them in the uniform, having them feel like a student, having them feel like they've already been accepted to the school, having them already visualize in their mind that, the sales trainers call it an ownership question, right? You're walking them through the house, where would your couch go? Well, that's an ownership question. You're getting them to picture that they've already bought it, right? Or, alternatively, I guess you could say puppy dog clothes. Just take the puppy dog home for the weekend. If you hate the puppy dog, bring it back and we'll give you your money back, right? But to a great extent, once they're in uniform, other than they're in jeans and their t-shirt just out there looking like they don't fit, psychologically, they've already bought into they're a student. Does that make sense? Plus just hand the parent a $20 uniform and say, go put this on. once they're in uniform, getting them on the floor is easier. Getting them to feel like they're a student is easier compared to, hey, go jump out there in your stiletto heels and in your skirt. Well, you know, it's a completely different dynamic. Does that make sense? So
Yes, sir.
you know, the saving money on the uniform. Now, you know, Master Smith and I will disagree sometimes on this stuff, because like if I had did an after school program and I got 100 kids, I'm happy to give every one of them a uniform. Now, my stipulation will be is they have to come to the school to take a class to get sized up. And I think, Master Smith, you'll always do it on the second lesson or when they enroll.
I like the second lesson, and because, you know, if they come to that first, it's going to be a private lesson. They don't need the uniform. I tell them I size them up. Now, I don't tell them they're not going to get the uniform on the first lesson, but I just size them up on the first lesson, so that way they can get their uniform on the second.
Yeah.
That'll get them back, because I really need that person coming back, because our closing ratio is improved drastically if we can get them back to the second.
Yeah. Does that make sense, Sal? So, I mean, to me,
I'll go get a whole bunch of uniforms ordered today.
yeah. Yeah, to me, the more people I get on the floor in a uniform, I mean, they're almost guaranteed to enroll.
Can
Okay.
I question?
Go ahead.
Sure.
We have a pile, and I mean like a whole closet full of really gently used uniforms that are just sitting there. Could we just give them some of the nicer used uniforms? It's not in plastic, but we're just handing it to them for free.
I wouldn't do that.
The problem with that, right, especially with this pandemic, is that anybody's going to freak out on a used uniform, even as if you cleaned it. You know, when it's new and in the package, they're going to feel comfortable. If it's something somebody else wore, now they're going to be, you know, leery of, you know, that's why even stores don't let you try on clothes now. And when you go to buy something, they won't let you try it on. You got to take it home. If it doesn't fit, you bring it back.
Yeah, but plus think of the dynamic. Here it is, I'm loaning a uniform, and if you become a student, you'll get one of your own. That psychologically destroys the point.
Okay.
I'm doing the wrap my arms around you, welcome to the school, you're a student now. And then basically next lesson, oh, by the way, here's the structure of things, right? The psychological dynamic is different. All those old gently used uniforms, I would go give them to Goodwill or something, you know, or have a bonfire and not worry about that.
Okay.
I see schools that do that with like sparring equipment. Oh, I have this box of sparring equipment, and you know, people can, you know, come take. That's just, you know, to me, all that stuff goes in the dumpster. And you know, if I'm going to give it away, I give it away. If I'm going to sell it, I sell it. Whatever. My preference is I build the tuition high enough that everything they need, I just include it in the package. So sorry to shoot that one down so aggressively, but yeah, that I wouldn't go there.
Yeah, I have a fire pit. We can volunteer if we need to burn those in a bonfire, sir.
There you go. There you go. Yeah. Wear a mask when you're having the bonfire,
Oh yeah.
because you're going to have more problem with smoke inhalation than COVID, but still, you know, whatever. Any last thoughts before we call it a day? Okay, so I gave you two things. One is every night before you go to bed, write down how am I going to hit my, you know, target enrollment numbers, 100 in the first quarter, 20 every month, whatever it might be. And then as soon as you get up in the morning, you know, take a shower on one thing or another, but, you know, go to Starbucks or sit down at the table. The kids aren't allowed to talk to you. The phone's not allowed to ring. If somebody texted you, ignore it. Turn the computer off. And for God's sake, don't start the day with checking your email, checking your text messages, going on social media to see who went bankrupt today. That's my pet peeve nowadays is, you know, all these people who should know better. Well, it's the last time, you know, here's the last of the school. I'm locking the door forever. You know, oh my God, the state of Pennsylvania hasn't given me money yet. You know, ignore all of those whining idiots. But sit down and say, what can I do today? and what can I do this month, and what can I add to our overall plan, right? And then of course go do it. But but make sure you're doing that every time, right? Is you're sitting down and you're making the plan and implementing it every day and doing something new every day. Right? And again, go ahead.
One last thing I just want to tell everybody, I did tag a bunch of people in that paid in full video that we did at our live event in Colorado. I tagged a bunch of you in it. Some of you
You just love tagging people.
well, that way I know they have it, but I went ahead and just posted it anyway. Bob posted some good things about the blow up kickers and stuff. So guys, don't forget to use that Facebook page to find something, do the search function. If you can't find it, try a different word. You know, it's like a Google search. You got to play with the words. And if it still doesn't come up, then post a new question and we'll attach that stuff and locate it for you. But I did put that whole video up there as well as tag people, but I did repost it. So go look at it. And I'll tell you how important it is. I just had a call a few days ago with one of our members who their gross was down. And we went back through the paid in full options that I had talked to him 6 months ago that he did. And that month he pulled in an extra 20 grand just from paid in fulls. And 2 days ago, I talked to him, and then he texted me this morning and said he had a 10,000 paid in full last night, and so he said that you know I hate to say I told you so kind of thing, but if you're right, you're right. And all he said was he asked, and if you approach him with the attitude that you're not asking them for a paid in full, what you're doing is you're going to show them how they can save 1,000, 2,000, or whatever the number is based on what the amount of their balance is, and aim that at your longer programs. Don't waste them all on those short programs. Do the longer programs, and you get a couple paid in fulls and your gross is up 20 or 30,000. Delfino, the last contest we had, he won it, and I think, was it 12 or 15,000? How much did you do in paid in fulls that month, Delfino?
Close to 20.
Up to 20, huh? Yeah, I mean, and he turned, the month before he had one of his lowest months, and then that month ended up making it one of his bigger months. See, and that's what I call a Band-Aid. It's going to solve a short, if you're short on cash a little bit. But the idea is to add a couple of those in each month. Just doing a couple paid in fulls, as long as you're getting a couple more enrollments, your gross, your billing is going to go up.
Yeah.
If you don't enroll anybody and you keep paying in full, your gross is going to go down, or your billing is going to go down.
Yeah, and on that note, is the number one thing that you've got to do is end the day and start the day with how to pump up your marketing activities, and then make sure you have at least 20, if not more, different things going every month. And some of them are going to be home runs. Some of them are going to strike out in any given month, but make sure that everything that you add to your list has the potential, like the Christmas card thing. I'm not suggesting anybody's going to get 50 new students from that, but if you got 5, it'd be worth it, right? So
one, it'd be worth it. I mean,
right. But make sure that everything you do is not stuff like print student bumper stickers and give everybody a bumper sticker, hoping for the best, but is real things that are going to pull. Now, if you want to print stickers and bumper stickers and give everybody a free T-shirt to wear their elementary school, that's fine. Nothing wrong with that, but that's not part of the marketing plan. That's just an additional service item. On that note, we got to call it a day. I'll remind everybody the week of Christmas, the week of New Year's, we won't be on live. Anything that you have that feels urgent is use the Facebook discussion group. Mr. Dunn, Master Smith, myself, Master Moody, Mindy, and Merrick will be on variable schedules over the holidays. Everybody but me will be available soon, sometime or another. other than Christmas and New Year's and so forth.
Is next Thursday the last meeting of the year,
I don't know, is it?
the 17th?
Oh, yeah, that would be our last of the
The
year.
next weekend is New Year, Christmas Eve, and the week after that is New Year's Eve. So we won't have the meeting on Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve, but
Right.
next week will be the last one. So bring all your questions you need to make sure that we finish December strong. But your ace in the hole is some paid in fulls, but get that marketing done so it carries on through. Remember, January is one of the biggest enrollment months of the year. Everybody wants to start the new year on a positive. So you got to start getting that lined up now.
And on that note, see you guys next time.
Okay, have a good day, guys.
See ya.